So I'm honestly a bit conflicted about this. I'm honestly conflicted about this next story because sometimes it just shows what words don't really exactly what they mean. And I'll give you the example of this. So I found this, and it says Wisconsin National Guard troops deployed to Africa. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought when something's called the National Guard, wouldn't that be protecting the nation it's in? You know, the National Guard, you're guarding the nation. Those kind of words kind of put together makes that kind of sense. But that's why I'm conflicted, because those words don't actually line up to the gist of the story, which is apparently we're sending National Guard troops from Wisconsin to a totally different country and a totally different continent. And I'm sure those National Guard troops would be more helpful in Wisconsin or Chicago or somewhere in the world right now, like somewhere in the United States right now. I mean, we've had 2 hurricanes going through the East Coast and parts of Florida and whatnot. When they need some help, I think those troops would be very useful over there. But apparently this is the headline here: Wisconsin National Guard troops to deploy to Africa. And it says families on Friday, this is from September 30th. So families on Friday honored 280 National Guard troops who are being deployed to Africa for a 10-month mission. And it says the troops leave for Texas on Sunday and will deploy to the Horn of Africa later in October, not returning until next summer. The National Guard said its troops will serve as the closest medical, logistical, and security support for embassies and NATO staff operating on the continent. So, the National Guard is guarding embassies in another country. Why would we even still call it the National Guard then? Like, do you see why it's conflicting? They call it the National Guard. It's supposed to guard the nation. But you're going to another continent to guard a bunch of embassies and be logistical and medical and security support. It doesn't make sense. Governor Tony Evers and General Paul Knapp were some of the speakers on Friday at the send-off event inside the Miller High Life Theater. Families gathered in the lobby afterwards, excited and a bit nervous, ready to take care of the mission and my guys get them home safely, said Sergeant Casey Kuhn with the Wisconsin National Guard. A little nervous, but I have really good family support. My wife and kids will keep us busy, and I know they'll be in good hands. More or less, it's the kind of accepting thing, yada, 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 talking about emotions and whatnot. So, why are troops from Wisconsin? And I'm sure there's a lot of things that they could be helping and protecting and restoring and putting to work in Wisconsin. Like, I'm sure there's things to be done. Why are they going to a totally different continent? And it's not just Wisconsin, apparently. It's also happening all across America. So, here's a news report from Vermont, where apparently its National Guard is also sending to Africa. Take a listen.
Thanks for joining us at 5:30. I'm Alice Kang.
And I'm Brian Colleran. Stuart has the night off. Today, 100 local families saying goodbye to their loved ones as they head halfway around the world.
NBC5's Zuri Hoffman joins us live in South Burlington with more on the Vermont National Guard's deployment. Zuri.
Well, guys, the Vermont National Guard has been really busy throughout this pandemic. Now, another mission as nearly 1,000 soldiers are being deployed over the next few months.
Hats off to them. Again, they stepped up and said, pick me. So I have a great regard for them.
A goodbye send-off for nearly 100 Vermont National Guard soldiers on Wednesday. They're heading to the U.S. Africa Command for a mission they're keeping confidential.
I talked to these airmen, and we've got, as you know, soldiers going out in the near.
They're keeping the mission confidential. So the National Guard that is ignoring to guard the nation, is being sent off to another continent, to another country, to a totally different random place, and they don't even know why. They're not telling people why. And they're doing it in Wisconsin, they're doing it in Vermont. This does not make sense. Something does not add up to this.
The future as well. They understand the mission, and professionals take the mission that they're given, and they're going to go overseas, and they're going to make us proud, and they're going to come back safely.
Roughly 950 soldiers are deploying within the first half of the year. They'll be sending more troops overseas this year than in any other in more than a decade.
Has been a tough year.
Task Force Avalanche had a send-off in January to the Middle East. Here at home, soldiers have also been helping Vermont in its battle against the coronavirus pandemic, setting up surge sites in April and November of last year, alleviating some of the stress on hospitals.
We are forecasting for a minimum of 30 days.
Also in November.
See, now, that's what I expect from the National Guard. You know, they're making makeshift hospitals. They're helping people through the coronavirus. They're helping people through a natural disaster. You know, when, like I expect right now, the Florida National Guard to be helping people in, you know, Fort Myers and Tampa and all the places affected by Hurricane Ian. You know, there's deadly twisters, there's natural disasters, there's lots of things that need support right here back at home in our own backyards. And yet we're sending them to a totally different country, confidential, not telling these people, and then promising them that, oh, no, it's going to be okay, you'll be kept safe, and you'll be kept busy, and then we'll try to keep you back alive so you can come back home. And we're talking about the U.S. military. So, again, things don't add up to this situation. And like I said, this is happening all over. This is Connecticut. So, now you have Wisconsin, Vermont, and now here's Connecticut doing the exact same thing.
Connecticut's largest National Guard battalion is deploying soldiers to Africa. This is the largest single deployment of the Connecticut National Guard since 2009.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Sharon Johnson is in East Granby tonight with more details on their mission.
Nearly 600.
So, if they're saying that they're just guarding the embassies, how many states, how many troops exactly do they need over there? If this is just about guarding a bunch of buildings, like, how many people do you need? How many people do you exactly need in this situation?
Soldiers on the plane that will take off soon behind me will be heading to Texas first, and then they'll be heading to Africa to help with an ongoing mission. They've been helping with battling COVID here in Connecticut, and now they're taking on another challenge.
Just over a year ago, this same unit was helping with the hospital surge capacity, building additional capacity at Central, at Southern.
From one mission to the next, the National Guard soldiers with the 102nd Infantry have had a busy year battling COVID, and their job isn't done yet. This next year, they'll be on a security force mission as a part of the ongoing Operation Enduring Freedom's Horn of Africa.
Enduring Freedom Forums in the Horn of Africa. Enduring Freedom Forums in the Horn of Africa. This definitely sounds like something orchestrated for perpetual war. Considering that we know Joe Biden has sent troops recently to Somalia. Considering we know that the United States has wanted control of African nations. And they've wanted to deploy. They went to Middle Eastern countries. They've continue to go further and further south. There are now troops in Somalia that we didn't even know about till now, secretly doing battle missions there. And now we're going to the Horn of Africa for freedom. Like, this sounds like something straight out of the Bush playbook. Oh, we're going there to protect their freedoms and democracy. We're there to give them their livelihoods back. And we're going to get every National Guard from different states to climb aboard and not tell them exactly what this mission entails, what the point of it is, where this money is going towards, and if they're going to actually return home safe.
I always say, you know, the families are actually the ones deployed, and they are. Like my wife and kids are going through it a lot harder than I am.
This is Captain Joseph Stout's second deployment. His last one was in Afghanistan. Although he's already missing his family, he says he's ready to complete this mission.
It's always been a pleasure to serve my country. It was one of my dreams growing up as a kid, being able to you know, represent the nation.
Lieutenant Eleanor Baranovsky is leaving her 2 dogs and husband here in Connecticut. She'll be helping improve base defenses as an engineer officer.
I'm very excited. It was hard to leave home today.
All of these soldiers volunteered for this mission. They'll be joining guardsmen from 5 other states ready to serve.
So, like I said, a lot of this does not add up. And I guess this is kind of the moment to show you the kicker, or the end goal, or spoiler alert, to remind people that the United States has a long history of going into Africa to destroy and demolish and kill and slaughter. So that's why I was a little skeptical that National Guardsmen and women across different states, and how they're having news reports about this, seem suspicious. Especially the one that pointed out that the operation is named the Freedom Forum of the Horn of Africa. It just seems like something out of the militarization, global military industrial complex playbook. That they're going to go to the Horn of Africa on this mission, that, it's just all volunteers and maybe we'll get you safe, and it's just there for medical and security, and we're just there for freedom and democracy and humanitarianism, so we'll go over there. Let's just remind people, U.S. airstrikes in Somalia killed 14. We killed 14 civilians in the Horn of Africa. And I don't want to get angry at the troops or anything. I feel bad for them, kind of, for the fact that, the one guy said that he loves the country, he's trying to serve and protect, and he wants to do the best that he could for his country, and I like that. I honestly respect that. But it's almost like he's doing that and then he's being manipulated to go to another country. And who exactly is protecting this? Has Somalia ever attacked us here back home in the Western Hemisphere? Is there any lethal attacks that we know of that Africa is planning to do to the United States, or to do to Canada, or to any Western country? So why exactly are we over there? Why exactly are we killing? Why exactly is this happening? Here's also this. This is a Reuters article saying U.S. says it killed 27 militants in Somalia airstrike. So we're kind of there to seek and destroy. And they're using National Guardsmen and women, or should I say National Guards people? That's more gender neutral. National Guards people to go over to these countries, and meanwhile there's stuff back home that they've done great work during the COVID. You just saw them building makeshift hospitals and beds and serving people and giving them, people are lining up at food banks. There's food insecurity. There's people that are desperate out there. And there's lots to be done infrastructure-wise and stuff that the National Guard, which, frankly, if it's called National Guard, it should be guarding the nation. That's kind of the whole point of being called National Guard. There's a lot to be done in their backyard, but they're throwing them to another country to do stuff like this. So it just goes to show you that the United States, in its weird sociopathic, illogical way, is never, ever, ever in good faith. It's never there for the good of humanity. Like, there had to be some sinister reason of why we would choose the Horn of Africa out of all places to drop everything to get 3 different states, and I'm sure there's more of it, 3 different states to get all of its troops over to that country. I'm sure there's a sinister, illogical, militarization, war empire reason for it, and the proof is kind of in the pudding. And now you kind of understand that this is just, again, another just militarized deployment to seek and destroy and, desecrate all over the world again. We just continue to do so. We have no point of stopping. We have no end result, no end goal. As Julian Assange points out, the purpose of these wars is not to have winnable wars, but to continue to ongo the war empire, to make money, to make profit, to continue to desecrate and, cause more terror, cause more war, cause desecration all across the world. So we can go blame other people and blame other countries and make up some sinister evil people, even though the sinister evil people are right in our own backyards. The real sinister evil people are the ones that are controlling us right now. The ones that are leading these troops overseas and not telling them exactly what they're doing. It's barbaric, really. It's barbaric. And really, I feel bad for people that are killed. But I also feel bad for the troops. Because they think that they're doing a good deed and they really think they have strong suit, but they're being lied, cheated, and manipulated to do stuff like this, and it's just heartbreaking. It really is.